Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. And before we dive into today's kiki, which is, I tell you, my conspiracy theories, my reads, my calling outs, they 99% of the time they come to fruition. But I was just calling out Brandi Glanville for her inappropriate behavior and the hypocrisy and the double standards that happen at Bravo, which I now think they are trying to clean up. But before we dive into what happened between Brandi and Carolyn Manzo, I wanted to remind you guys that we also do self-love and self-care content here on the channel, so check out those videos. And also be sure to check out the description box. Join our newsletter. You get a free self-love guide. Check out our self-love courses and check out our podcast and more. And be sure to like the video, subscribe, and share with a friend because a kiki is always better with community. So with that, let's dive into today's kiki. So just as a quick refresher course before we dive into what happened between Brandi and Caroline, I literally was just talking about Brandi because I was saying how thirsty Brandi is to come back to Bravo, how she kept blaming Lisa Vanderpump for the reason why she was fired from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And how she wasn't taking any accountability and how she's never been held responsible for anything. And I think the reason why her behavior has now escalated into a sexual inappropriateness is because Brandi has never been checked for her other bad behavior. And it has been very hypocritical and double standards at Bravo, but I think now they're finally cracking down. What I mean by that, before there was Monique Samuels molly-whopping Candace on Real Housewives of Potomac, there was Brandi Glanville who popped Lisa Vanderpump in her face. Brandi got no consequences for that, other than Andy Cohen joking on Watch What Happens Live, calling her a puppy or something like that. But Brandi Glanville literally physically assaulted Lisa Vanderpump. She popped her dead in her face on camera. No consequences. Before Mia Thornton threw her drink into Wendy Osefo's face, there was Brandi Glanville who threw her wine in Eileen Davis's face. Again, no consequences. Nobody called it. This is what's funny. Not a single person called it assault when Brandi slapped Lisa Vanderpump. Nobody called it assault when Brandi threw her glass of wine in Eileen Davison's face. Nobody called it racism when Brandi talked about Joyce's hair because she was Puerto Rican and said she didn't go swimming because she didn't want to get it nappy. So Brandi has had racial microaggressions. She's been physically violent on multiple occasions. Nobody called Brandi out before Erica. This could have been after Erica Jane, but maybe around the same exact time. Erica Jane got called out for cussing out Garcelle's son. Brandi Glanville, through her own admission, popped pills, drank, and blacked out and was rage texting a teenage girl, probably close to age to Garcelle's son. But Brandi has never been held truly accountable for this stuff, And of course, now her situation has escalated. And I told y'all about Brandi. I told y'all about her. It's crazy. It's crazy. She has done all of those things and pretty much has skated by. Now, let's talk about what she did on the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. This is according to People. It says Brandi Glanville and Caroline Manzo exited Ultimate Girls Trip early after unwanted kisses. Multiple sources close to the show tell People what was behind the Real Housewives stars' departure from the Peacock series. Brandi Glanville and Caroline Manzo departed the fourth season of the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip ahead of schedule, 3 sources close to the show tell People. The 2 reality stars were filming in Marrakesh, Morocco last week for the second installment of the Peacock franchise's Ex-Wives Club format. When, according to insiders, Glanville took things too far with Manzo during a party, kissing her multiple times throughout the evening without her consent. It was unwanted, a source says, and Caroline's distress over the matter did not seem to stop Brandi. Things escalated and physical boundaries allegedly were crossed that Caroline felt were serious and uncomfortable. Now, this is the thing. This is where I have to blame production as well, and I'll tell you why. We cannot forget that this is a work environment. I know that they're reality personalities. I know it's TV, but at the end of the day, their checks are paid by Bravo and NBC Universal or whatever company it is. I forgot the production company's names, but at the end of the day, these are employees, freelancers, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, 1099s, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, this is a work environment. And it blows my mind how production or whoever is on set does not step in. How does it go from unwanted kisses to Caroline being in distress to things escalating to physical boundaries allegedly being crossed? Now, if the physical boundaries were crossed off camera when things were down, i.e., the Kathy Hilton, Lisa Rinna saga, cameras down, nobody was around, that's one thing. But if they caught all of this on camera, when does production, when does an executive, when does a producer step in and say, stop? When do, you know what I mean? When do they say stop so that the situation does not escalate? It is still a work environment. But I told y'all about Brandi. I told y'all about her. She's way too thirsty. She's way too desperate. And she's never had any true consequences. Being fired from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is not actually a true consequence. And I'll tell you why. Because she probably would have been fired anyway. And housewives get fired all the time. They get put on pause all the time. But Brandi was still... But nobody was saying, oh, Brandi assaulted someone. Nobody was saying, oh, Brandi's a racist. I know we were saying it. Us smart people were saying it. The candy canes were saying it. But the general public, I don't think Reality Blurb or Page Six or People Magazine or, all of these other quote sources, the way they've gone after Mia, the way they've gone after Monique, the way they've gone after, Nene. When Nene just pulled the cameraman from overstepping their boundary. The cameraman should not have gone into Nene's closet. She said multiple times, do not go in there. And he went in. Even if it is a workplace environment, there are still things called physical boundaries. And if I set a boundary, you shouldn't cross it. Nene was villainized for that. So it's really telling that certain housewives are... And I'm not going to say villainized. I think Nene was villainized in that situation because I'm not saying that it's okay for what Monique did to Candace. It's not okay what Mia did to Wendy. So I'm not saying that what they did was okay. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying what Brandi did also was not okay. But the response is vastly different because Brandi has done more violence. And let me also say this. I'm also not making it a race thing either, because look at Miss Portia. Portia has been one of the most violent women I have seen on television. She has gotten into 4 or 5 physical altercations, including with an elderly woman who is the grandmother to her child. On Portia Family Matters, she was up there trying to fight the grandmother of her child. She was trying to fight Dennis's mom. She was trying to fight literally the grandmother of her child, throwing stuff. Portia has been one of the most violent people on television. And what does Portia get? She gets Bravo Chat Room. She gets Portia's Family Matters. She gets, you know what I mean? So it's not even about race. It's not even, oh, Brandi's white and the other women are black. It's not even about that. Sure, there's racism. Sure, there's hypocrisy. There's also favoritism. It makes zero sense how some people are so villainized when other people get rewarded. Like, why is Brandi even allowed to be on the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip when she has physically assaulted people, right? But again, they kept, Monique could have stayed on the show, but she left. Mia's still on the show. So I get it. Stuff like that happens. But the problem is there hasn't been any true accountability. Portia has never been truly held accountable. She fought Kenya. She fought Cynthia. She fought the grandmother of her child. She fought that girl in the alleyway. She pretty much damn near fought Dennis too. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And don't forget what she said about Candy. But let's keep going. Okay. Following the incident, a decision was made by production to report what happened to higher ups. See, this is where I think that production is twofold. One, I think production is learning that they cannot let certain bad behaviors, whether it's physical violence, whether it's sexual inappropriateness, whether it is boundary crossing, to pass. They can't just give it a pass. And two, I think they're also trying to cover themselves because they know that now the temperature of, the audience, the temperature of the world, the temperature of the collective consciousness, we're not going to let it pass. So I also think they're covering themselves. One, legally, because again, like I said, these are employees. These are employees. So one, they're covering themselves legally, and two, they're covering themselves from a reputational, favorability standpoint. So we're not like boycott Bravo, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, see, look what we did, right? So I think that's why they're finally stepping in. Filming continued that night and into the next morning when Glanville, a second source notes, was made aware of Manzo's feelings and apologized via text message. This is the thing. Let's keep going because I could be on my soapbox for a minute. So let me just keep it popping. Still, a decision was made that afternoon, unbeknownst to Manzo, to remove Glanville from the trip early. So basically, Brandi got fired. Brandi's behavior was inappropriate, a third source says, so she was asked to leave. Now, it has to be pretty deep. It has to be pretty deep for them to ask Brandi to leave because Brandi has gotten away with every single thing. She's gotten away with slapping Lisa Vanderpump. She's gotten away with a racial microaggression against Joyce. She's gotten away with throwing her drink in Eileen Davis's face. She's gotten away with a lot of stuff. She got away with lying on Denise. She's gotten away with a lot of stuff. So, yeah, I think it has to be pretty deep. And to be honest with you, and this might sound weird, but let me know what you think about this. I don't see Bravo stepping in on quote, girl on girl sexual action unless a serious line was crossed. Because they love exploiting that. Look what's going on in Potomac right now. What are they talking about? Oh, Mia wanting to, test out, Dr. Wendy's box and Dr. Wendy being, interested in it and them laughing and kikiing and like Mia being, attracted to Wendy and what happened with them. Oh, the girl on girl stuff, blah, 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 blah. They love milking that tired old storyline because to me, girl on girl is not interesting because I personally just see love as love. So whatever, who cares, It's not sensational to me. I'm a straight woman, but I don't see anything wrong with people of the same sex, opposite sex, trans sex, pansex. I don't care. Do you? Who cares? I think it's very tired and played out, this sort of, ooh, girl on girl action. Get over it. Get over it. You know what I mean? We can't fetishize that stuff anymore. Get over it. Is it, ooh, salacious for like a guy and a girl to kiss? Like, get over it. Stop. So I really wonder what exactly happened. Now, this is where Carolyn comes in. Later that night, Manzo decided she didn't want to film anymore and chose to exit the show on her own. She needed to process this outside of the reality TV environment, the First Insider says. Co-stars Vicky Gunvalson, Eva Marcel, Phaedra Parks, Camille Meyer, or like Camille Grammer, Alex McCord and Gretchen Rossi were supportive of her decision. The second source notes, as was production. Filming continued on the series and wrapped on Saturday night. Early on Saturday, Manzo 61 shared a photo of her to her Instagram story of granddaughter Marquesa, aka Marky, at her cheer competition. She was later tagged in a post at a restaurant with her daughter Lauren. Glanville 50 shared a photo of a camel, presumably taken from the trip. Bonsoir, Morocco, she wrote, I guess, like goodbye or like good evening, using the French phrase for good evening. She added 3 heart emojis and the Arabic word for thank you. All right, this is a thing. A couple of things, and then we'll get more into it. Now, Caroline deciding to leave could be a couple of different things. One, what Brandi did really crossed like a serious line, because they haven't really said, it just said that physical boundaries were crossed, unwanted kisses. Like, what exactly does that mean? Was she pecking her on the cheek? Were there French kisses? Did she slip into her room at night? Like, like I need more information. But what I'll say is this, for her to leave and her to say she needs to process it out of reality TV, this also goes to why people need to respect other people's boundaries. I'm not saying this is the case for Caroline at all. I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying this is her case. But hypothetically speaking, you never know what someone has gone through. You know what I'm saying? You never know what trauma, you never know what assault, you never know what violation someone has gone through. And if someone is saying what you are doing is not wanted, what you're doing is non-consensual, what you are doing puts me into distress, you don't know what is triggering them. And again, I'm not saying anything has happened to Caroline. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, for a person to leave a situation when the person who was doing it has already left and they need to process it outside of reality TV, and it involves some type of non-consensual sexual thing that's inappropriate. I don't care if it's not just kissing. Like, I'm not dismissing it that way. But if it's kissing, if it's any type of inappropriate, unwanted touch, you don't know what that person has gone through and what you are triggering in that person's life. And I'm really happy that they fired Brandi from the show, that they made her leave. I think it's about time. She has been held accountable for her actions. My heart goes out to Caroline, because anytime someone does that to you and it triggers you and it upsets you, that's not okay. I'm proud of Caroline for speaking up and saying this was non-consensual. I'm proud of her for removing herself from the situation and taking care of herself outside of the show. A lot of people would have just stayed to film. A lot of people would have stayed to get their side on camera and to do whatever for a storyline. So I'm really, really excited that, that Caroline, not excited, but I'm really proud of her for standing her ground, because it also sends the message to people that you can't do that to people. Brandi, you can't go around slapping people. You can't go around throwing your drink in people's faces. You can't go around lying on people. You can't go around cussing out children. You can't go around physically, inappropriately, non-consensually kissing and touching other people. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. So it's about time that Brandi has had some consequences. It's really about time. But I want to know what you guys think. Stick around, my candy canes, because I do want to take your candy canes questions and comments that I see in the chat box, so stick around. But for everybody watching on the replay, I want to know what you guys think. Are you like me and you're like, it's about damn time that Brandi is being held accountable for her actions and being called out? She has been violent and inappropriate too many times. Do you also think it's about damn time that Bravo and their production companies are holding everybody accountable, not just the non-favorite people, not just the Moniques, not just the Ninis, not just the Mias, but the Brandis and the Portias and the other people who are highly violent and inappropriate, right? And it's not just about race, because Portia is black as they come, and I don't mean color. You know what I mean? She's black, and she's been extremely violent and has pretty much zero consequences for it. So it's not just about race. It's really hypocrisy, favoritism, and race is built in there as well. But I want to be fair about the entire thing. Put it down below. Also, will you be watching The Real Housewives Girls Ultimate Girls Trip 3 or 4? Put it down and let me know what you guys think. But again, stick around, my candy canes. I'm going to take your candy cane questions, comments, but be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it when we go live. Also, be sure to share this with a friend, because a kiki is always better with community. And check out the description box down below. We have a newsletter, a self-love guide, which is both of them are free when you sign up. And we have some self-love and